Welcome to Mocha Money Monday. I'm your host, Ashley Scott, and today I have the privilege of introducing Averri Liggins. She is the founder, the chief consultant over at Black Women Moguls. Now, this young lady doesn't just consult and help people to really build out their systems because that's really her main thing. She's really an expert at helping you to understand the processes that get you from clarity to close, right? But she also has done a few businesses herself. So I always love learning from serial entrepreneurs like Avery. And we're honored to have her today as a guest on Mocha Money Mondays, brought to you by Wilson's Financial Group and the Phenomenal Hughes Global Network. So without further ado, I want to bring up Averri Liggins, CEO of Black Women Moguls, to discuss how to make your funnels work for your business. So we're going to go all about funnels today and go ahead and talk a little bit more, Averri, about who you are, some of those key nuggets that I wouldn't be able to even begin to scratch the surface on because you're just so phenomenal. So tell the people a little bit more about you, Averri.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me here. I just feel so honored that you invited me to be a guest. And you are so right about me being a serial entrepreneur. And I always have to share the story of how my mom told me like a few years ago that technically I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 3, because in California, where I was born, she had a business. And apparently I put this bracelet on a client of hers and said, see, and apparently my little 3-year-old self helped to make the sale. And so
Wow.
it's been ingrained in me ever since childhood. I sell Girl Scout cookies, bath salts, you name it. And then it didn't get until sophomore year of college at Clark Atlanta University, shout out, when I started designing websites. And it was amateur at that time, but that was really my first, if you want to say adult start into entrepreneurship. And I was like, well, how do I turn this from a hobby into an actual business? And so along the way, definitely made plenty of mistakes, invested in business coaching, and then it evolved into what is now Black Women Moguls and a new company on the way, but I can't talk too much about it. But it's been a definite evolution of entrepreneurship.
Okay. So first off, what inspired you to start Black Women Moguls and to really niche into helping women of color to really get that clarity that they need to create an offer that is irresistible and to really create those funnels? Like, why did you decide that that was going to be the thing that Averri Liggins could do really well?
Well, that's a very good question. So it ties to a few things. Number one, the American Express report, I think at the time was 2018, and it was saying on average, Black women entrepreneurs make $24,000 for the year compared to our counterparts who make 6 figures. And I was like, well, that's not, of course, good. We want to make sure we're building sustainable businesses. But also, I thought about my journey along the way, some of the things that I wish I would have known as far as systems, because that's the last thing people think about, and then sales funnel strategy. So I was like, I'm tired of fluffy motivational conferences, fluffy just motivation, period. We want something tangible. And so that's why I decided to start Black Women Moguls.
So I know you see a lot of different industries. You're not industry specific, you're kind of industry agnostic. You can help women no matter what their business is, right? So what are some of the foundational things that you have noticed no matter what industry you're in that you should have a part of your system as a business when you're thinking about business systems?
One thing, of course, that is industry agnostic is a lead generation magnet. And that's whether you're a product-based business or your service-based business, you should always have a way to take your audience off of social media into your email list. And as much as we love social media, you never know when Instagram is going to go down again. And think about your favorite past tools like Tumblr, MySpace, Twitter, which is now X. We don't know what's going to happen with social media. So when you have an email list, you have some predictability because you can use more a direct approach to them. You have more real estate as well because, of course, with social media, you can only have so many characters, so many things that you can showcase. So when you go to lead generation magnets with an email list or even text message, you have so many more options to reach your audience.
So do you feel like there's a certain kind of lead magnet that works best, or do you feel like that might change from industry to industry, Avery?
I do. It can definitely change. And this is where I say do your research. Now, we know that the most common opt-ins are a webinar, whether that's automated or live, an ebook, or a checklist. But some of the underutilized tools are quizzes, so you can make it fun for your audience. You can do audio files because, say, someone likes to listen to podcasts in their car. That's another way to attract someone who might listen to podcasts. And there's so many different types of things that you can use, and you can have more than one opt-in. So say someone likes the course versus the audio file, you have a different option for them. Or maybe you have a workbook and a video explanation for them, and they can choose which one works for them. So definite options. And I will say for product-based businesses, one misconception is you always have to offer a discount. That is not the case. Yes, most people do love to save money. However, if you offer something, so say there's a hair care company that I had as a client, and we created a hair care guide for them. So that's pretty valuable because we want to know how to grow our hair and take care of it. So there are different ways you can utilize lead magnets.
So when you start thinking about funnels and the power of a strong sales funnel, do you have any tips for our audience today, Avery, when we start? Because I always like to quote my mentor, Hazik Ali. He's one of the sales masters that I love out here. And he always says, nobody buys immediately, but everybody buys eventually, right? And so you can't expect in that very first initial contact to close the sale. But if you nurture the relationship and you maintain these points of communication, whether that be text message, whether that be email, maybe you even are doing some kind of Google display ads and they kind of see that you're following them throughout the internet everywhere they go, then eventually they're like, you know what, I've built enough time and trust with this brand that I'm ready to finally make a transaction. So let's talk a little bit about some of those best practices when it comes to crafting an irresistible sales funnel.
Sounds good. Yes. So this will be more geared towards a service-based business because it's easy, it's a little easier with product-based businesses. So with a service-based business, say you're a consultant, a coach, or even in the wealth or real estate industry, so you want to provide a lead magnet that provides one solution. So you don't want to overwhelm them with too much. And a lot of people say, well, what if I give the whole recipe for that one solution? 9 times out of 10, nobody's going to use it, but you have it there. And so you want to make sure that you have a call to action of how they can take the next step with you at the end of that lead magnet. So number one, quick wins and instant deliverability. Number two, you want to go ahead and set up your automated sequence. So I like to have, and for my clients, have at least 5 automated sequences ready. So that way, if they opted in on Monday, I don't have to remember to at least follow up with them 5 times. Now, this is outside of my regular bi-weekly or monthly newsletters. And number three, again, always have a call to action. You want to think about what is that end offer? So maybe you are trying to get someone into your digital course or to your consulting. You want to make sure that opt-in ties to that final offer. And then as a bonus tip, you mentioned about the nurture sequence. So the rule of thumb is if your offer is a higher tier offer, so like in the thousands, it will probably take them a long time to convert. However, if you're selling something like a $20 something, it might take them a little shorter. So you might not need 5 emails. So you want to keep that in mind as well.
Okay, these are some really good tips, right? So I want to talk a little bit more about how we get people into the awareness space of our brands and our businesses, right? Because I can have a lead magnet, but if nobody knows about it and they don't get a chance to engage or interact with it, I just have some other another landing page on the internet streets, right? So, Avery, I think you do networking really, really well. So, can you talk a little bit about what are some of the ways that you're getting people in front of your lead magnets?
So I will give out the whole game because I can do that. I don't mind. So I do it in a variety of ways. So yes, I'm on social media. Yes, I do try to post consistently, but that is not where I get my bread and butter. Number one, I cannot speak enough about having speaking engagements because that gives you instant credibility. That is showing your expertise, especially as a service-based business, showing your expertise. And at the end of my presentation, I always have an opt-in. So I'll say, I might change it depending upon the audience, but I'll say, here is a free guide that goes along with this course, or you can have a growth strategy session with me. So that's one way. Number two, vendor events. So I do like to network, but I love vendor events even more. Or if it's a networking event where I can get a vendor table, that is like gold to me because number one, I don't have to go person to person and juggle like, okay, I need to go talk to this person. If they come to my table, I know they're coming to talk about my service because they'll see my step and repeat banner and different things. And so I would more than likely have a QR code that says, hey, here's a free consultation with me, or hey, here's a free resource. And on the system side, sometimes I will book people right there at the table using my phone. So that's a part of having a really good system where you can do that. Number three, I would say being on guest webinars and, podcasts such as this. That's also instant credibility for you. You put it on your website. So on my Black Women Moguls page, I have a press page of all of the podcasts and different speaking engagements I've been on. So if someone is looking to book me for the next opportunity or hear my expertise, I put that on the website. So again, positioning myself as an expert. I don't know what number we're on, but the next one is as a business coach. So I've worked with different organizations such as AARP, Goodwill, Bridge for Billions as a business coach. And so now I'm able to use those logos again for instant credibility. And then very last on the list is social media for me. And that's where I will put out free content, talk about my opt-ins and different things like that to get people into the funnel. So those are some of the ways that I do what I do.
Okay. And like you talked about systems, and systems is really the key to a good funnel. It's the key to really being able to nurture your relationships and not even just nurture them, but once you make a transaction and you close that deal, you need to be able to deliver, right? You need to be able to show that, no, I'm not just talking about it, but I am good at what I do, right? But I would love for you to talk a little bit more about the systems and the tools and some of the tech that you're using to actually make your funnel successful and some of the things that you're using, again, that tech to really pull all of these things together. Like if you're talking about a schedule, are you talking about Calendly? Like what are some of the tools you're using?
Okay, sounds good. So, one of the things I have to preface it by saying is just because it's free, it doesn't mean it's for me. I know it's a little corny, but that applies to the tools that you use because sometimes there are great free tools, but other times you do need to invest in your tools. And number two, when I'm asked about the tools I use, I always preface it by saying, do your research first because just because it works for me doesn't mean that it will work for you. And so that's where I work with clients to identify what tools are they using. If they want to save some money, then they might switch over to some of the tools I'm using. But if they're sticking with what they have, then we find workarounds. So I will give an example of the tools I use and how it works. One of my philosophies is transforming your brand into a 24/7 sales machine. So anytime someone goes to my website, they can go to the bottom of the landing page and see my Scale Like a Mogul course, or they can go to the resources page and see some of the resources that I have, which I'm updating. So once they opt in, it goes to the Kartra landing page. So Kartra is the first tool, and they will opt in and it will give them a series of emails, first with that welcome email that gets them to that course or the ebook. And then it will do maybe like 2 or 3 more emails. So that's anyone can go to the website at any time, opt in, get their course. They don't have to wait for me to send it, or they don't have to wait for me to go on an actual live, even though I'll do live webinars. So that's one thing. Say someone is booking a consultation with me, my CRM system of choice is Honeybook, Team Honeybook all the way, but there are alternatives such as Dubsado, Monday, different things like that. But for me, Honeybook was user friendly for if I have team members who need to use it. And it has a client portal, which I absolutely love. So say I need to have the client upload documents or different things, we can keep it in one place. And it's not to say the other tools don't do it, but it just does it a little bit differently. And so when someone opts in for a consultation on my website, it automatically creates a digital file for them on my CRM system. And so that way I don't have to manually enter things because it got annoying. I was like, let me just switch over from Acuity, which was my scheduling choice, to Honeybook. So I still love Acuity, but I was like, let me just make this simpler for me. So with Honeybook, once you can set it up a few different ways. So say if you wanted a fully automated process, you set up the contract will be sent when I click this automation. The welcome packet will be sent when they pay the first invoice. An email will be sent when XYZ happens. So that's how that can work. And then also on my website is a chat bot. So it has FAQs if someone wants to just click the FAQ for that, or if it will have some automated responses. And then if it's not automated, it'll give me an opt-in form saying this person asked about this question, or I can chat with them live. So those are my MVPs of tools.
Love this. So, is there anything else that you want to just share, Avery, with our audience? This is Mocha Money Monday, so we always like tips and tools that can help us get to the bag. So, when you think about how people can scale or grow their businesses as women of color and just people of hue out here trying to grow their businesses, what are some final words of advice or tips that you would give for someone who's trying to make their business financially successful?
One thing I would say is whether you have a team or not, start writing out your processes. It is not as hard as people think. You can just start out with doing a brain dump of everything that you conduct in your business. So the marketing, the financial, maybe you do advertising, maybe you do some administrative work. So start off writing out those categories. Then go back and write out the steps that you conduct for those categories. So step one, if you say it's email, I open my email and read, the unopened emails, unread emails. Number two, I will reply. So things like that, even as if it's that simple, start writing that out. So by the time that you have a team, you have those processes written out. And it doesn't have to be complete, but you have something at least to start from.
I think that's a good piece of advice because when we start talking about, how we and plan to deploy capital, team is one of the first ways that you should begin to scale and grow. And having those processes in place are going to absolutely make you successful faster when you decide that you want to deploy capital and start building out a team. Because if they don't have that, it's like you are coming from playing from the back, right? Like you're not really able to take advantage of those new hires as quickly as possible because you're still trying to figure stuff out. I've had that problem myself, even trying to onboard virtual assistants, right? Here at the Phenomenal Hughes Network, we have VAs that can support you, but they can't even do what they need to do if you don't understand your processes for your business to be able to train them adequately. So thank you for that tip, Avery. I want to also just chat a little bit more before we get out of here around some of the courses and some of the classes and the things that you're teaching. What do you think is the most valuable things that a business owner should know right now in 2024 to make sure that you aren't being left behind, to make sure that you are, able to keep up with your competition or even to be a better partner when you're collaborating with other people? What are some of the things that you think people should have in their arsenal when it comes to growing their knowledge base and their knowledge bank? What are some of the things you think people should be learning out here right now, Avery?
That's a good question. So one of the things I can't stress enough is number one, brand positioning. So I won't go on that too long since I gave a whole list of ways to position your brand. Number two, I would say partnerships is really the name of the game. So I can give an example. My friend Amber, the activator, we met on Instagram first, like years ago, met last year in person at a random event, and now we collaborate on Automate and Activate. And so she does marketing as well, but in a different way. We brought our minds together to start making money. And this partnership is going to be golden because we have some things in the pipeline. So finding a good partner is gold. And then also an accountability group as well. A good tribe will take you a long way to have that accountability. And sometimes they act as your business coach if you can't afford one. So one thing that I'm a part of, someone is great in sales, another is great in digital marketing. My other friend is great in brand activations. And of course, I bring the systems, the funnels, and everything. So we work amongst each other and we're kind of like a board and a sounding board for each other. And number three, again, have to go back to systems and automation because that can help you with creating your partnership agreements, you're managing your clients, managing basically anything in your business. So can't stress that enough as well.
Okay. So are you familiar with or utilizing any kind of AI in your business to help you scale, Averri?
Of course. So some of the tools that I use, of course, everybody uses Chat GPT, but sometimes I use it in the wrong way, but that's a whole nother conversation. Also, Midjourney is my tool of choice to create custom images. So yes, I'll use Canva, but when I want images that I don't see everywhere else, I will go to Midjourney and utilize that. Also, Canva Magic Write is a great tool that people don't utilize a lot. And if you like Chat GPT, but sometimes you can't get the brand voice quite well because you might need a better prompt, Canva Magic Write typically writes in my brand voice very well. Now, I always say AI is not a replacement for your expertise because you still have to know what to put in there. And then you don't want to use it for like writing books because, that's a whole nother session, but it is used to supplement what you already know.
I think that's all good advice.
Phenomenal Hughes Global Network is the place to join for so many things, the coaches, the expertise, the events, the networking. I cannot say enough things about why you should join Phenomenal Hughes Global Network. So do as I say, not as I do.
Well, guess what? You are an honorary member of the Phenomenal Hughes Global Network, whether you have taken the time to log in, sign up, or pay your membership fees or not. You are able to claim your membership. Okay, so don't worry about that.
So I am a member.
Yes, you are. Well, thank you so much for sharing. How can people get in touch with you, Averri, if they want to learn more about how they can get their systems and funnels in place? How can folks connect with you?
Thank you. So number one, you can go to the website, www.blackwomenmoguls.com, and you can see some of the free resources that I have to get you started on your lead generation journey or for your business systems and processes. And you can also follow on Facebook and Instagram at Black Women Moguls for some of the free tips that I drop.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a guest at the Mocha Money Mondays podcast. We appreciate you, Averri, and we appreciate you, listeners, for tuning into another Mocha Money Monday podcast brought to you by Wilson's Financial Group and the Phenomenal Hughes Global Network, where we are helping you to prepare, pivot, or prosper into your entrepreneurial journey. We want to invite you to our next El Verde Supper Club events. So if you're not tapped into all the goodness and all the phenomenal things happening over at our network, go to phenomenalhughes.com so that you can join our powerful and phenomenal community. Thanks, Averri. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.